Hello, everyone. I'm Justin.
And I'm Paige.
And we are
Being Adventurous.
So now, the topic of this episode is kind of going through our likes and I don't want to use the term dislikes because I don't really like the negativity about that, but let's call it nitpicks or challenges or issues or however we want to term it. So
things we wish would be fixed.
Or that would we wish that would be better.
Yeah.
You know. So let's just go through that for the Volvo XC40.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start us off with, I'm going to go through my like list.
Okay.
Okay. So for me, the first one that really popped out for the Volvo was the materials used in the interior. And I think it's something that we mentioned back in our video in November when we checked it out down in Austin, that I really like the materials that the Volvo uses, and it's growing on me more and more each day. Because part of the reason why we bought the Volvo was kind of that more premium plus luxury, however you want to term it, experience. And every day that I'm in that car or that compact SUV, the more and more I appreciate it. And it's not necessarily like, they're, using fancy exotic materials or anything like that. But I don't really notice a lot of pure plastic.
Right.
Which is nice. They have some soft rubber, cloth. I mean, it's no matter where you touch, it's a nice elevated experience, and including the seating material, which usually I would equate like, I really prefer leather. It's really nice, whether it's faux or real. But the material that Volvo used on these seats, they're a cloth material. They're just so, I don't know if it's suede or something like that. It's just so plush and nice. I can't speak highly enough of the materials and the material quality inside the Volvo. So that's definitely one of my top likes.
Okay.
Where do you stand on materials?
No, I do like them. They feel soft. I keep thinking of things to pick though, so I'm gonna let you go. You go ahead.
Wow. Okay.
I have a nitpick that I don't know that I added to my list that I'm thinking of.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. Stay on the positive.
Okay. So, one other thing. I mean, one thing that we noticed when we were comparing it to the Polestar, I remember reaching up and touching around the moonroof area, and the fabric or whatever it was like this press board that had like a cover that was very
texture. Yeah,
but it was really janky, and we weren't impressed with it. And this is just more high quality, I think.
Yeah.
It's a much better. I'll reach up and touch it every once in a while just to make sure that I'm.
All right, but that's a like.
Yeah. Oh no, that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. And I guess I wasn't surprised by it because we felt it back in November, but the quickness.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because I remember, I guess it never really stood out long term for me from the Austin thing. But what stuck out for me in the past was when we test drove the Audi e-tron, it seemed slow. Where this really felt, certainly in comparison to other things we test drove, it felt really quick, and it took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting it, especially from something that's in that kind of SUV style form factor.
Yeah, exactly.
The next thing is actually a really cool thing that I've seen on other higher end cars. This is the first time I've been in a vehicle, let alone own a vehicle that actually had it, which is the headlights that turn.
Oh yeah.
With you. And it's a subtle thing if you're looking for it, but it is so nice. And I find myself missing it when I'm, in the Kia because it doesn't have it. So I really love the
And we have a couple of turns coming to our house that really benefit from having that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a trend in the towns that you're living in, but for us here, there's not a lot of street lighting. And there's that one corner that's a couple blocks away that you need to have as much lighting as possible going around it because otherwise it's bad news. So we definitely noticed it first on that curve. The next thing for me is, and again, it's a really subtle thing, but because you have your keys with you, and that's of course how you get in the vehicle, as soon as you sit down, it's on. It's ready to go. And when you get out, it's off. It's, so when you sit down, everything gets connected, music starts playing, when you get out, the music will stop. And it's something that we notice when we're driving the Kia because it doesn't have that. And we'll talk about that in the Kia video. But anyway, love that thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the one thing that it does enable too is the garage door opener. So was that
that was something that we had
HomeSense thing or whatever?
Yeah.
Right, because you don't want your garage door opener to work, without your keys, because someone breaks in, you don't want them to be able to get in through your garage. Or if you had just the regular clicker, they could do that. So it is nice that you don't have to turn on the car in order to open or close your garage. It's just nice that it's just automatic. So that's one of the other subtle things that related to the on and off feature that I really, really like. So that's another plus for me. The next thing that I noticed, and I remember bringing it up to you when I noticed it, is the ride quality. Even though, of course, it weighs a lot because of that, just like all EVs do, it doesn't feel as heavy as it probably is. And I don't know if it's, excuse me, because of the form factor, the suspension. Not sure what's causing that, but I really like the fact that I'm not feeling the weight. It just drives as I would expect from a normal SUV. You agree?
I agree.
Awesome. I like hearing that. The next thing is I really like the way they handled the moonroof / sunroof. Because a lot of vehicles, it's either full panoramic or it's a smaller but pure sunroof / moonroof. Where this is kind of a combination where there's a divider in the middle, and then so the back portion is pure panoramic, and the front portion acts as a sunroof. So I really like that flexibility because you do get pretty much the entirety of the benefits of a panoramic roof, but also the flexibility of the sunroof, which I really like. And we've benefit from that because we've used that when we travel. Instead of opening up the side windows and getting the air gust and pressure change and all that kind of stuff. I hate that. It's nice to be able to pop the sunroof and then you get that fresh air in there.
But it also has the cover.
And it also has the cover to block out the sun. It's it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
We love it.
We do love it. Absolutely. The other subtle thing that I noticed, and it was an option in the settings menu, and at the time I didn't really think nothing of it. I just, it's an option. I'm going to turn it on. And it mentioned something about tilting the mirrors down while in reverse. And it just never dawned on me why you may want that option. But for me, I really like that because when I'm backing up, especially backing up in a parking spot, of course, I want to see the lines to make sure that I'm centered. Yes, I can look at the camera, the rear view camera, and get some guidance there. But also just like a quick way to look down and see, okay, I'm close enough to line or whatever. So I really like that, and it's optional. It's off by default, but I turned it on and I really like that.
Well, for me, I haven't had an opportunity to set up my settings in either car yet. Still, I've had plenty of opportunity, but I'm waiting because I'd like to record it for the video to see how easy it is. So I'm relying on his settings or the generic user settings. And so when it comes down, I don't see the lines at all. So it's very difficult for me and I get really frustrated and I feel like I'm turning crooked. And so that doesn't help me right now. But hopefully once I get my settings tuned to my height and
that's on page.
Yeah. Well, it's on you guys because I've been waiting for you guys.
Yeah, but I will say that kind of leads us into another is, I in some respects I do like the way they do their software, because it's using Google Automotive, and so you have your logins, and that way it in theory should be saving information that is tailored to you. So, and we haven't done a lot of research to see, if in her profile she can change the setting and it gets reflected and it doesn't change mine. But I do like the fact that their software is account based and also tied to a specific key.
Yeah.
So that the person who unlocks the car, that's the profile in theory that gets defaulted to load. So I really like that aspect. We'll talk about it from a nitpick perspective as well, but I do like that from a positive perspective on the software. And I guess for me, the last thing on my likes list is the little trash can in the center console. You think it's who needs a trash can? But it's a nice little trash can that when it gets full, you can take it out, take out the lid, dump it out, and put it back. Awesome little thing. Thank you, Volvo.
And how many times have we reached into the center console of the Kia and be like, oh, that's not this car?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So
no trash can in this car.
That's right. You pay extra for that. But anyway, so I really like that, and I think I think overall from a perspective, to me, Volvo delivers on delivers on the value compared to, as to what we paid for it. I think, judging by all these likes and even taking into account what I'm going to talk about from a nitpick perspective, I think it provides great value. Was there anything on your list that I didn't talk about?
I think there's a few.
Okay, go ahead.
I do like that it's a true SUV. So you do step up into it. And so being a short person and being somebody who's prone to knocking my head on the car door, or, as I'm getting into a car, this has been great for me.
Well, and an extension to that is the seat sits at a normal height within the vehicle, versus other EVs that may have a shorter seat height to account for the battery underneath. So I think that's another benefit of it being in that form factor.
Yeah, though I do have to say, when I get into the car, I kind of just shift myself a little bit to adjust it, and when I'm shifting, I'm knocking my head on the rearview mirror. So again, that's on me. I've got to learn.
Another user error.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Okay, what's next on your list?
I have to reiterate that I love the moonroof. I think that's beautiful. You really took a lot of my things. The door handles. So I know it's not needed in this car because I don't know how many of you usually stick your phone in the door handle, like the side door handle, but I used to do that. And we've currently have been using our door handles as our little tissue holder. Yep. So it holds our little baby tissue packet. And so we can always just reach over there and grab a tissue if we need one. And you can put a little thing of hand sanitizer in the door handles. And
or sometimes I put my phone there if, the drink holders have drinks in them. Mm-hmm. And your phone's on the charger or something like that. So it's just nice.
It's just a nice thing. It has a bottom to it, so things aren't just going to fall straight through it.
Yeah.
So I like that about it. I love built-in Google. I cannot stress enough how wonderful built-in Google is. I'm not sure how much the subscription to that is going to cost once we get past our little free period. I believe it's going to be worth every single penny because I love being able to say, hey, Google, play this song, give me directions, call this number. I mean, it's amazing because when I think of something, I can ask something. See, yep. She's talking to me from the other room. So yes, I love it. And it's a great feature.
So now that we've gone through our likes, let's talk about what our dislikes are, or not dislike, nitpicks, challenges, issues, whatever the case.
Okay. I would say the biggest one that I have is lane assist. I mean, I love lane assist. It's really great. However, when you are using lane assist and you come upon an exit, your car automatically wants to take the exit. It always pulls to the right.
So there is a slight caveat that you forgot to mention.
If there's lines.
If there isn't lines.
If there isn't lines.
Right. Because a lot of times it seems like a lot of exits here in Texas, when the curve goes open the other lane to exit, they don't do any sort of dotted line or anything like that to continue for the current lane. So the car thinks this lane suddenly went huge, and it seems to want to stick to the inside line, and that's what causes that.
So if you're driving in the fast lane, doesn't matter, not a problem. But if you're in the slow lane, you're going to have to fight that car to stay in the lane.
And I will even go a little step further because it's on my nitpick list as well. Is in the software, there's actually two settings that are essentially that. There's one that is enabled when you have the cruise control on versus one that's just enabled by default. And I noticed on my trip to the airport last week that I was fighting it the entire way, so I ended up turning them both off because it was just got to be so bad that I was constantly fighting the steering wheel. It got tiring after a while. So
yeah,
that
especially that early in the morning.
Yeah,
and,
so that needs work for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a slower charging time, so this is probably not going to be our travel car. This is more of an in-town car for traveling, just due to the fact that you are going to have to make more frequent stops for longer periods of time.
And what I mean by slow charging time is because we have the EV6 and it has the 800-volt charging system, and the Volvo, like most other EVs out there, do not. It's going to have that max of 150 kilowatt or less, and it's going to have its own charging curve. So yeah, it's going to be that 40+ minute charge time that they state, and that's something that I think the biggest the issue around the charging time is when you couple that with the purported lower range. It's like it's a one-two punch.
Right.
But we'll get into range in a little bit. But
okay.
yeah, but I think to me that's what really kind of drills it in a little bit.
Yeah, and
it's okay. We knew that going in.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
The other thing, their app is garbage. I mean,
it's basic.
It's basic.
And I don't know if the new software update helped it, but historically, it was rarely accurate. It was that challenged. Yeah. That basic.
We do not enjoy the app.
Nope.
I mean, basically, it just tells you if your car's unlocked or locked.
Yep.
And
if
it is currently charging.
Right.
If you want to start your climate.
That's it.
Yeah.
And to show the battery level. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. And then the battery level is not always right.
Right. Or even the lock status isn't always right, because there's been times where I think you said that you've locked it, but when I looked in the app, it wasn't locked, so I sent the lock command to it. So.
And it doesn't like to load over my Wi-Fi at work.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so I have to turn off work Wi-Fi to get the app to load.
Okay.
Not sure why.
Good to know.
The display screen, if you are in the car for a trip going more than 30 minutes, I would say, probably
less.
The display screen gets really hot, like hot to the touch, and it says it's starting its automatic cooling and not even on a hot day, which is very, I mean, we haven't had hot days. You know, today was like 80, but it didn't happen today. I didn't drive it long enough, but it's happened several times, and that's an issue for me.
Oh, I agree. That's one thing. I think one of the first things we noticed is it was probably, I don't know if it popped up when we drove it home from the dealer, but it certainly has popped up every longer drive since.
And I don't know if it's because it's showing so much information on that default screen.
I mean, there's not a lot of information.
And it's not even needed.
Well, it's not even showing a lot of information. There's not any animation. So I don't understand why it needs extra cooling when we've never had that message on the Kia.
Right.
So, and I don't know if other cars have a similar message and everyone's been experiencing something similar, but we just find it odd because, as Paige mentioned, it doesn't take a lot of time before it says, hey, I need to cool myself down, even though it's not, aside from showing something on the screen, it's not even like doing a navigation. It's not necessarily playing music. It's not really doing anything other than showing the information. So to me, it's something is going on in the back end that it's not doing, doesn't have proper cooling built in by default, that it has to do it explicitly, and you can hear it try to cool itself down.
Yeah. The other thing is the ambient lighting. There's only one color, white. I mean, it's pretty.
You can change the brightness.
Yeah. And
to be fair, ish, is at least it's done in an elegant way.
Sure.
It does look nice, but yeah, but it's nice. Okay.
But I did get some center cup holder coasters that light up and they can change color, and they turn on when it like bounces. So if you have a cup in there and it hits like jiggles or something, it'll turn the color on.
There we
which
go.
Is kind of cool.
We augmented the lighting.
We did.
Awesome. Okay.
And then you have to do that little 1 foot hop, twist your ankle around thing to try to get the trunk to open, and you just look like you're doing some sort of weird bobbly dance because it's hard to get the trunk to open.
Yeah, I think I've only been successful twice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much easier just to reach down and pop it open. So that's
sure.
But I think once we can figure out the mastery of it, then I think we'll think it's cool and we'll move it to the like list. But until then, still on the dislike list.
And I honestly can't remember what my other pet peeve was that I was going to talk about in the beginning of this video.
You can come back to it, though. You can come back to it. So I'm going to move on to my list because I think that was the last one.
Mm-hmm.
The range, I mentioned it briefly. It's rated at, I think when we bought it, they were saying like just over 200, but below 210, I think. And I think with the recent software update, it might increase it to like 224 or something like that. But when we did a first long drive with it up to Oklahoma, we we left the the luggage rails. Yes, I'll say we left the luggage rails on top, and we had very poor mileage to the point where it was really distressing because it was making it feel like we were going to get half the reported range. And then like that coupled with the slow charge, this is not going to be a pleasant experience. But we've since taken off the roof racks, and the range has been much better. We're still not getting the stated 200 plus mile range, but we also, do drive the speed limit. So in some cases it's 75, some cases it's 70, and then 65 and whatnot. So
and it's been cold.
So what I was going to say is, taking all that into consideration, I'm looking forward to the warmer weather so we can get a better feel. But even with the cold temperature and the speeds, I'm still relatively impressed with the range.
I was really impressed with
from the percentage difference of what the stated range is.
Sure. And your airport trip, I think we were really impressed with the range, because I think you left here at like 90, and it's an hour and 10 minutes away or whatever, and you got there and you had 60% left, and you got home and you had 30% left or whatever. So I felt like it did really well. I was impressed with that. So
that's why I even though I put it on the nitpick list, it's something that we're definitely going to want to do some more testing with when the weather is better and more consistent, just to get a better feel for how close, within what percentage does it get to its stated range. Because I understand, yes, that form factor is going to have less aerodynamics, so it's going to have lower range than some other vehicles. But if Volvo was conservative and it can stay close to the stated range, I think we'll be a happy camper. Still may not to the point of using it from a long-term road trip perspective because of the charging time, but at least something I think we'll probably continue potentially using it as a weekend driver sometimes. To the system software, yes, it's Google Automotive, which is great in some respects. I forgot to mention, I do like the Google Map being shown in the center along with the speedometer and things like that. So I do like that. But there's also a lot of cons to that right now because not a lot of manufacturers have adopted it. It does have its own Google Play Store, which is nice in theory, but right now there's just not a lot of apps in there. And I think Volvo has made the explicit choice of saying, we're not going to invest a lot in and I'm speaking for them, I'm not going to invest a lot in the software and allow the Android marketplace to take care of that, but passing that savings on to the customer. That way they don't have to staff up their own software team and things like that. Sure. I think that was their thought process, and to an extent I'm okay with that because I understand it. Yes, the software is not near as full featured as other EVs that we've checked by any stretch of the imagination, but on the flip side, they definitely have a good selection of basics that I really appreciate, like the one pedal mode. It's either on or off. There's no multiple regeneration levels. Fantastic. I like it just being on. Not worrying about eco mode versus normal versus sport. I like that. So that's the plus side of them making these specific software choices. So I do appreciate it, and I'm hoping that, like any other Android marketplace, the apps are just going to increase more and more as more manufacturers sign on to Google Automotive and start releasing cars based on that. So that's kind of a mixed, nitpick one. So.
Sure.
The other thing, which I haven't noticed with my new phone, but I noticed it with the previous one.
Oh, the one I'm using.
The wireless charger. So they have it. It's in a convenient location, not as direct convenient as Kia, but certainly within reach. But what I noticed with the old case that I was using and the phone, it would jostle around with the car movement. So then it would charge, stop charging, charge, stop charging. So it was very annoying to say the very least. But my phone never really got charged. But I noticed with this one, and specifically with this case, perhaps is the difference. It doesn't move. It stays charging. So that was kind of a nitpick, and I know we discussed it in the past.
Sure.
That's definitely a nitpick on my side.
That's probably the most plasticky part of the entire car is the wireless charging.
And it's rubber, I think. Or maybe a very hard plastic.
Yeah.
So that's it for my list.
Okay.
Did anything jog your memory as to what you wanted?
Man, I don't know what it was. I wish I did. Okay. Sorry.
But you know, in summation though, again for value, being a premium plus / luxury vehicle, I think it was a very good choice. None of these, you know, nitpicks or anything like that would have stopped us from buying it because we knew a lot of it at the time and it didn't stop us.
Yeah.
So and as I said, it grows on me every time I drive it. I just really like that.
One thing we did end up having to purchase though, and we haven't tested it on the road yet since I bought it, was when my mom was riding in the car. She was riding in the back seat, and if the sun was coming, it's like kind of, you know, later in the evening, the sun was coming down, and she was like, it's just right here, you know, I can't block it, I can't do anything. So we bought these retractable sunshades for the back seat, or you can put them in the front, wherever you want, but they just kind of, you can either clip them over the window or you can put them on with those little suction cups. So those, we bought 2 of those, so
and the car is tinted by default, but it's always good to have that flexible option. And we've seen other cars, and specifically other EVs. I think the Ioniq 5 was one of the other ones, and maybe even the high end version of the Audi e-tron had it built in. So that's a nice thing to add. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for us for now. I hope you enjoyed it. By all means, click like if you like, subscribe, tell all your friends, all that kind of cool stuff. We will keep doing more videos, and we'll try to keep a more consistent pace as we record stuff, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for being adventurous with us.
Take care.